Hey everyone, this is Mike, and today we're going to be taking a quick look at LevelHead. Now, technically this game has been out for quite some time, but it was in early access and today marks its 1.0 release update. Now, probably by the time that you're watching this video, 1.0 should be out already, so you can go and pick it up on Steam. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to go and check it out. Now, what is this game? What is its premise? And is it fun to play? Well, this game is basically a platformer, sometimes a puzzle platformer, sometimes just a straight shot towards the end, depends on the level design. And it's made by the guys of Butterscotch Shenanigans, which you might know for a little game called Crashlands. If you've played Crashlands before, you already know the kind of story that you're going to be in for with this game as well, because there are a lot of similarities. This game does not take itself seriously, which makes it so much fun to play, but on the other hand it is still a very challenging platformer, so even though some of the maps might be incredibly easy to do, as you go throughout the rest of the game, like going through the story mode and that kind of stuff, there are going to be a bunch of maps that are going to be really hard to complete and might make you want to punch your monitor. So even though the game looks very funny and also the story just totally does not take itself seriously, the game itself still has some very challenging gameplay to offer for you. Now, one of the cool things is that this game is going to be incredibly community driven. This is one of the upsides of being in early access for a few months already, is that there are already a lot of community maps out there. So the way it works is very simple. You have a workshop where anyone can create their own maps. You put them on the marketing department. Once you are done like making your map, you publicize it on the marketing department. That is where other players can go and play it, and then they can leave a rating, an upvote. And then depending on how many upvotes you get, depending on your ratings, depending on how many people play your map, then they can also be put into the tower, which is kind of like where all of the best maps go towards basically. So when you're done with playing through the story mode, you can either go and create your own map if you want to do that, or you can play through community maps either on the tower where you have that like certified maps that you know are going to be good, or you can play on the marketing department to see if you can find some of like other people's hidden gems that might not have been played all that much just yet and give them some attention as well. Now, when it comes down to the actual gameplay, it is a platformer game and it's a very tough one at that, of course, depending on each of the levels. Now, the cool thing about this is that it's not necessarily either a puzzle platformer or a precision platformer, it's kind of a mixture of both. Some levels are just going to be a straight shot towards the end and that is it. Others might have, for example, the camera move with you, and then if you're not fast enough, you just die. So some you really need to race towards the end. There will also be other maps that are more of a puzzle that you have to try and figure out, like for example having to find keys to open doors, or for example like a combination of throwing boxes on certain platforms to then open another door or something like that, whereas others might just be some kind of a combat sequence where you have to destroy a couple of enemies, and then when all the enemies are dead, the door will open and you can continue on to the next section of the map. So there's a wide variety of maps that are already there in the story mode itself, and then of course with the community maps there will definitely be a wide variety of maps that you can get there as well. Now, when it comes down to the gameplay loop, it's pretty simple. You are a delivery robot and you need to deliver packages as fast as possible. That's kind of the storyline. And you're basically in training, and then once you finish the story, you're good to go out there, which is then kind of like playing those community maps. The way the gameplay loop works, very simple. You are the robot, you need to go find your package first. When you pick up the package, you basically try to find the finish line, so to speak. You jump into the finish line and you are done. Now, along the way, you might also find some power-ups, because your robot itself is very simple. All it can do is jump, grab an object and throw that object. That is pretty much it. Like for example, that's how you interact with the keys, the boxes and all of that kind of stuff. But you can of course also attack by just jumping on enemies' heads. That is for the most part the only way that you can attack, but there are also a couple of power-ups that will actually change your robot itself and does give you new abilities. For example, two of them you'll be seeing in the gameplay are, for example, the teleporter, or the ninja as I like to call it as well. The ninja can hold on to walls, so they can like kind of climb walls by jumping on them. They can also hold on to ceilings, so you can kind of traverse the map that way, but they can also hide themselves in a bush, so if you want to be sneaky and sneak past enemies, then you can use that as well, which will of course be necessary in certain maps. For example, the one that I'm showing off in the map that I created myself, to kind of show you off the editor real quick, is the teleporter dude, which allows you to teleport through walls, which will be very useful on certain maps as well, and of course will be necessary on certain maps as well, if the people decide to put that teleporter in there, because otherwise why would it be there? So it's really cool to see that even though the gameplay is relatively simple, they can still create pretty decent challenges with all of these different pickups that you have, of course with all of the different obstacles that are available on the maps as well. Makes it for a very fun experience. Add all of that together with the fact that there is such a really good map maker in the game as well. You can just completely go nuts with whatever you want to make. Like, there's people that have literally made calculators in this map, or in the map maker, because it's just possible to do those things with this game. Like, just think back on Minecraft redstone engineers, stuff like that you can do in this game as well if you really want to do that. So there's a lot of fun stuff that you can do with this game. It is still a very challenging game if you are looking for a challenging platformer. If you want to just have a laugh at the story, then that is definitely available here as well. So all in all, this game definitely gets my recommendation. So as I said, link to the game is down in the description if you want to go pick it up on Steam. The 1.0 version should be available later today. If I look at my Steam real quick, I can see that it is like requiring an update at the moment. So by the time that this video is out, the 1.0 version might already be live. But that's pretty much a quick look at LevelHead. Hopefully I was able to make some of you guys interested in the game as well, because it is something that I've been enjoying here or there over the last few months, and I'm definitely going to be playing it a bit more as well now that it's finally has its full release, and I can go and unlock pretty much everything without having those resets on my story progress and that kind of stuff again. So that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for today. I want to thank you for watching, I want to thank my Patreons for supporting me, and I'll see you in the next one.